Hello, welcome to Galaxy of the Force, a Star Wars podcast for kids. I'm Joseph, and I'm 6 years old. And this is Shay.
I'm Joseph's parent.
In today's episode, we will be discussing, terrible things. Wait, terrible things? Or something else? What are we discussing in this?
All sorts of things, all about
Star Wars. The Empire Strikes Back. If this paper is rustling, it's our shopping list. Just forget it.
So,
It is not.
do you remember what year The Empire Strikes Back came out?
You just told me it's 1980.
Well done. And neither of your parents were alive in 1980. So you're going to interview your grandfather to find out what life was like when The Empire Strikes Back came out.
Oh, I thought you meant 1977. That's when Star Wars was released.
Yeah, 1977 was when the first film was released.
And he was 13 then.
Yep, he was 13. So we could ask him all about what life was like when the original trilogy came out. Yeah?
Yeah. Wait. So he can tell us about number 4 and number 5.
And number 6.
Maybe a peeky bit of number 6. A sneaky peeky bit. But not to give away. Should we not talk about...
He actually knows anything about Star Wars, so we're going to have to ask him more about what the world was like at that time.
So even if he was alive when 6 was made, I might tell you a sneaky bit about 6, but not things about being thrown down reactor shafts. That's a bit to give away. You know what I'm talking about when...
I see. Okay, yeah, we won't talk about that. This is Joseph's grandfather. His name is Daniel.
So, we're going to ask you what it's like from 1977 to 1983, because that's when 4 came out, and 1983 is when 6 came out, and 1980 is when 5 came out.
Okay.
And that's the films that we're looking at now.
All right.
Next week we're going to have 6. So if you could talk about 1983 a lot, that would be great, because that's the episode that we're on.
Okay. But I can begin at 1977, which I remember well because I was 13 in that year.
You thought you were 14.
I thought I was 14, but I've done some maths since then and worked out that I was 13. Because in 1976, we'd had one of the hottest and longest summers ever. All the grass had gone brown, and we weren't allowed to use hose pipes. In fact, we weren't allowed to flush our toilets quite a lot in 1976. So we were all a bit worried in 1977 that it would happen again. But it didn't. But me being interested in music, 1977 was a really, really good year. Do you know why?
Why?
Well, ABBA. Have you heard of ABBA?
Yes.
Okay, ABBA.
I went to see ABBA Voyage, the holograms, on Sunday.
Oh, wonderful. Well, ABBA brought out another song called, I think it was The Name of the Game.
Yes.
There was a James Bond film called The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yes.
And somebody called Carly Simon sang a song there. But also Queen were there. They did We Will Rock You in that year.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to shock you a bit, but I didn't like ABBA. No, this is true. I didn't like ABBA. This was the original ABBA. Because, you see, what happened up until about 1977 was that ABBA kept being number 1 all the time. So all you ever heard on the radio, and we had some television, but, it wasn't great the sort of television channels you have now. It was just ABBA. Oh, what should we listen to now?
So you got
ABBA.
bored with
We got
it.
very bored with it. But something else happened in 1977, and that was something called punk rock. And punk rock was amazing because it did everything absolutely the opposite of what you would expect in ABBA. So they were very naughty, they used very rude words, and most of their things were banned, this one particular group.
Shay wanted to ask you a few days ago, how did you watch films?
Yes. If we wanted to watch a film, we would have to go to the cinema. But you also have to remember this was before we didn't have computers, and we didn't have mobile phones. And in fact, I remember at school we had a computer room, which was a whole room with one computer in it. The computer was the size of the room. Because computers were...
So, did you have to walk on the keys?
No, there were no keys. No, you went into the room and you could ask somebody to do some sort of calculation for you, and it would be an adult, it would be a teacher, who would be there, and he would do the calculation that you wanted to do by asking.
And would you step on the keys?
No, there were no keys. There was no keyboard at all. It was just a room full of these big machines, and they had sort of wheels of tape going around.
Did you have keys in those days?
No, but no keyboards, no phones. And we had, I think, probably 3 television channels. So only 3, BBC One, BBC Two and ITV, nothing else.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you wanted to know something, instead of asking your phone, you went to a library.
Then our puppy Noodle, he wouldn't really enjoy his life because he loves BBC Three.
Oh, yes, there was no BBC Three. We had no idea that would ever happen.
Life.
He wouldn't. No Netflix, so no films on the television or anything. Occasionally they would be on television, but you had to wait until they started, and then make sure you were in.
Was there any way that you would watch certain films?
Yes, you go to the cinema, like The Spy Who Loved Me.
I mean, certain, different films. Do you have to watch different films in different ways?
Yeah, only if they were on television. So I think you were talking about The Sound of Music the other day.
Yeah.
That used to be on every Christmas.
Yeah.
You'd have to wait until Christmas to watch it.
Yes, and in quite a few years later, you had to use 2 CDs to play it.
Yes.
So when you watch the films now, you don't have to use CDs, but there's a big pause. When I watched it, I was like, hang on, that isn't the end. I remember people telling me that that wasn't the end.
No, that's right.
Yeah, so, and I was like, maybe I've watched the wrong film.
Oh yes, you must have ended too early then. They hadn't escaped.
Yeah, and then I missed a part, so I had to go back.
Okay. Before that,
I wasn't watching it in the cinema. I was watching it on a thing that's even bigger than a TV.
That's it. And they would have been called DVDs, those discs that you put in.
Yeah, I was like, what's happened?
Before that, there were tapes. There were actual bits of tape within a plastic thing called VHS. But those hadn't been invented. We didn't have any of those. When we wanted to play music...
How did the films play at the cinema?
In the cinema, they had tapes on a reel that went around, and the light was projected through them, so that you could then see it.
I have a projector at home.
There you are. So a very similar thing that would have happened then. So if you went to the cinema, you could do that. But if you wanted a television film, you just had to wait until they were on.
Oh.
Isn't it strange?
But how did you play music in those days? Because you're very good at the piano.
We had pianos because pianos were invented in 1709, so a long time ago.
Did you have keyboards?
We had electric keyboards. No, they did exist. I didn't have one.
I didn't think you would have keyboards in those days.
No, they had things called synthesizers, which were keyboards with a little box of noises that you could make from it. So you plug your keyboard into...
Did you have music boxes?
Yes, we had music boxes. We had record players. And a record was a piece of plastic like this, a piece of black plastic
so
in a circle. Yes, well done. And then you put your little needle on it, and then it would go...
Yeah, I know that.
And then it would play.
I've got one of those at my house.
Have you?
It's a Christmas one.
Right.
And it just... I can't remember if it does words or it does just the background. I think it just does the background. But it's really fun. It's somewhere in our shed.
Yeah.
Were there any certain... When was Star Wars on at the cinema?
Star Wars was on... It started in 1977. And do you know what? I've never seen it. I didn't actually go and see Star Wars, and I've never seen any of the films. But the first one was in 1977.
So you do know something about it?
I do know something about it, because that's why we're talking about 1977. And then presumably the next one was probably 1980, and the next one 1983.
But what time, you watch The Sound of Music at Christmas.
Yes.
What time do you watch Star Wars?
Star Wars wouldn't be on the television
Oh.
because there used to be a huge gap between something being on in the cinema and being on television. So that certainly wouldn't have been on television in 1977. Probably not for another some years.
Oh, but how did you watch it then?
I didn't ever watch it. I've never seen
No,
it.
but how did other people watch it?
To go to the cinema.
Oh, but
It was
what
very
time?
common for groups of young people to go to the cinema, and even then, 77, yes, it was a normal thing to go for lots and lots of children to go to the cinema on a Saturday morning, and they would fill up the cinemas and watch various different things. And it used to be really riotous. People would scream and shout and react to the film.
So, they would have. So, everyone listening right now, what we're talking about, we're actually talking about 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, and 9 wasn't even made yet. So, just to give you a surprise, that's it. So, because remember, 4 is the first one made.
Yes.
So, 4 was made in
1977.
which you thought was 1978
I
in
did,
our
yes.
quiz top trumps.
I did. I
That's
got that
in-
wrong. That is etched on my brain. I will never get that wrong again.
Yes. And the next one.
The next one, so because then after that I would have been 16 and then 19. So when I was 16, I did some exams called O levels. Then I got a car, started driving. Then I went to university.
Wait, but how did cars work in those days?
My very first car was what's called a Ford Escort.
Isn't the car that you have right now?
No, there's nothing like the car I have now. And cars were very slow. They used to rust. They used to go rusty, and they often wouldn't start.
Yeah, I could guess that.
Yeah.
What were they powered by?
They were powered by petrol, and they were powered by the same sort of engines, but they weren't anywhere near as powerful as today's engines.
Were there any electric cars in
No,
those days?
nobody had even thought of electric cars. But people hadn't thought about having computers and mobile phones and all the other things that we take for granted now.
What were the houses like?
Houses were mostly the same. You would have however many bedrooms you wanted to. So the houses were the same, but the cars weren't. And what was in the houses microwaves weren't existing. We had a washing machine.
Were air fryers existing?
No air fryers. We had a washing machine that every time you wanted to use it, you had to take 2 tubes and put them on the taps. And
Did
then you could use
tumble dryers exist?
if they did, we didn't have one. I think they may have existed, but we certainly didn't have one.
Were there clocks, or how did clocks
There
work?
were clocks, and I remember my very first digital watch. Now, you've got a digital watch on, I can see.
Yeah.
But yours probably tells you how many steps you've done today and all sorts of other clever things. Ours didn't.
I've told them about my watch in
Okay.
another episode,
Excellent.
so I don't need to tell them
No,
about it.
all right. Well, my very first digital watch was a very, very special thing, and it had numbers on it which just told you what the time was, but it was amazing. Oh, talking about cars, though, I'm not sure exactly what the price was, but when we bought petrol, we used to buy it by the gallon. That's about 5 litres. And I remember when people were absolutely outraged because the price of petrol had gone over 40 pence
Oh.
per gallon. That's
40
That's
pence?
8 pence per litre, and now it's usually about £1.50 a litre.
Hey Shay,
Yes.
you know as we, you know the Millennium Falcon?
The Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coin thing.
Oh, the coin.
What was
yes.
it called again?
Well, it's a special edition 50p coin.
And it's got King Charles at the back.
It has got
Oh,
Since
really?
we're in number 5, 4 and 6, we might
Yeah.
want to mention the Millennium Falcon.
the Millennium Falcon is Han Solo's spaceship, isn't it?
Yes!
But King Charles was Prince Charles at the time,
Yeah.
and the Queen was the Queen.
Do you think they watched the Star Wars films when they came out?
I don't know whether
I don't
he
know,
may have done.
maybe.
They were very
Do you
popular.
think so?
Do you
I
think
don't
Prince
know.
William watched them?
Maybe.
I don't think Prince William was born.
No.
Isn't that funny?
Prince William is... How old is he?
I don't know,
He's
very
40
something. Yes.
40 or 40 something.
Yeah. So no, he wasn't born.
Right, well, thank you very much for joining
Not
us.
at all.
wait,
thank
one
you.
more question.
Go for it.
What, you know, as I had another interview with you, a few days ago. Was that yesterday?
Oh, for your maths book?
Yeah. Would you like to tell them the answers for that?
What was the question?
Do you remember?
No.
In the maths and English book,
Right.
when I was asking you about English and about what your school was like.
Oh, yes.
Would you like to tell them about that?
What do you mean about how strict my school was?
Stick thing, the cane thing.
It was, yes, all right. I can tell you about school. School was mostly the same, but teachers were very strict.
And they had a cane.
And they did. They used to go around. They had what's called a mortarboard. They had a kind of square hat on their heads
Like
with a little tassel hanging,
university.
like university, and a black cloak that they used to wear. And there was one in particular who was very tall, and he used to go around. In fact, a few did, but he used to go around with a stick under his arm.
Headmaster has to have that.
Yes.
Your mum's mum was a headmaster. She didn't want to have a stick, but she had to have one because she was a headmistress.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And if you were naughty, they would whack you with a stick.
Yeah.
Isn't that terrible?
Yeah. And the cane is thin.
Yes.
And it really hard.
Yes, and so
And
but
they would
sometimes.
sometimes whack you 6 times on your hand.
Yeah.
Or 6 times on your bottom.
Absolutely. And when they wanted to tell you that they were going to do it or that they were going to threaten you with it, they would often do this with the cane, and I'll explain. It'd bring the cane really fast down in front of you, and you would hear whoosh, and it would make you think, oh, if that went on my hand or my bottom, that's going to hurt. And so that would sometimes be enough to stop you doing whatever you were doing.
And the headmaster tell them about him.
Our headmaster, he had a big office that he would. We'd have to
It's
go.
about the size of, let's say, the size of a shed.
It's about the size of a shed, yes, but it looked a lot more opulent than a shed. It had panelled walls, and
Yeah,
it was
it's like-
scary. It was a very grown-up place.
Wait, what was in it that made it scary?
It was just the fact that the walls were made of wood, and there was always a big desk, and mostly the reason for going into the headmaster's office was if you'd been really bad. So it was that made it really scary. So if you were told, go and see the headmaster, that was not good. Fortunately, I never got the cane because I was a good boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, what else did I ask you in the interview?
I can't remember. You were asking
I
about
was asking you about what you had at lunchtime, PE,
Yes.
subject.
Subject. So most of all, that's the same. I used to have a packed lunch like you do. The subjects were...
I'm only going to have the packed lunch next year.
Okay, next year. Do you normally have lunch at school?
Yeah.
Some of the people did, and some of us had packed lunch. And the subjects were the same.
What about the tie thing?
Oh, yes. No, but that's right. We all had... When you started school, we had a uniform of a black jacket, black trousers, white shirt, and a green tie, which is green being the colour
For
of the
young
school.
people.
Yes. And then if you did something really good...
Whichever house you were in,
Yeah.
you get that coloured tie.
Absolutely.
And there were only 2 people in the school that got the 5th coloured tie.
Yeah.
And that was your brother and another person.
That was right. It's getting what's called a house colour in the 5th form, which you would now call year 11. And the school had been running for about 450 years, actually more than that.
So that was the time of Henry VIII.
Before Henry VIII, absolutely, is when it started. And then my brother was there shortly after that, and then me. But yes, when I got my house colours in year 11 in the 5th form, I was only the second person ever in the whole school's history to get that. And the first person was my brother.
Yeah.
He was very clever. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Back to The Empire Strikes Back. Where's it set? How does it start, Joseph?
Well, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Tricking you, I'm not reading. I always say a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when I'm reading, but I tricked you, I'm not reading.
Right, so tell us. Where's it set?
Hoth!
What is Hoth?
It's the snowiest planet in the world!
Snowiest planet in the world or in the galaxy?
Oh, galaxy. Well, I guess it's the snowiest planet on Hoth.
What?
Galaxy. Camino is the most watery planet.
So Camino is the wateriest planet. Is Tatooine
The most...
is the driest?
Tatooine, Jakku or Pazana.
Are they the driest ones?
Yeah,
So I know
one of them.
Luke's uncle runs a moisture farm on Tatooine, doesn't he?
Yeah, one of them is, but also the most lovely planet is Mustafar.
Why is Mustafar the lavariest? I thought you said loveliest. The lavariest planet. The most volcanic
It's the
planet.
loveliest for Darth Vader because Darth Vader built his castle there.
I see. I didn't know that.
And I want you to buy me the Lego set of that.
You might need to save up some money for that.
Oh.
So, do you want to read us The Empire Strikes Back?
What about, can't we talk about what happens in Hoth?
Okay.
What about we talk about the most planets of everything?
Okay.
What about Exegol?
What planet is Exegol?
Exegol is probably the scariest because it's a Sith hiding planet.
And which is that planet that they took off the map? You know, where they were making the clones in episode 2.
Camino.
Oh, Camino. Okay.
What about Alderaan?
What about Alderaan?
I don't know. What do you think it is? If you just ask Bail Organa what it was like, or Princess Leia what it was like, or Brea what it was like.
What would they say?
Yeah, Brea is Bail Organa's wife.
What do you think they would say?
I
don't know.
Why?
I've never been to Alderaan, and I don't.
Well, why? Well, what
Maybe
would
it would be a very regal planet.
What does regal mean?
Royal. Is Princess Leia's a princess?
Like,
Or is she only known as Princess Leia because her mum was a queen? Her birth mum was
she's
a queen.
only known as Princess Leia because her birth mum was a queen.
Oh, I see. I didn't realise that.
But she didn't want to be queen, so, what was it called again?
She becomes General Leia, doesn't she, later on?
No, I'm talking about her successor was Queen Apollonia, that's it.
Oh, Padme's successor, yeah, because
The most city on the planet is definitely Coruscant, where the Jedi Temple is.
So, but maybe Naboo was...
Naboo is the most earthy planet. Or was the island Act 2? You know in number 8 that Luke is hiding on an island in the world? Yeah. That's the most earthiest planet.
Maybe the most mountainous? Is it quite a mountainy planet that Luke hides in?
Yeah. And I think Naboo is definitely the earthiest planet.
Don't they have to go underwater in Naboo to find the Gungans? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, they do.
You're
not making that up!
And I was just thinking also... the senator...
The outside of it is like Earth, but the inside of it is more than you can imagine.
I see. So I know that in Naboo they elect their queen, don't they?
Yep.
They elected Padme and then her successor.
Yep,
but also,
I always say yep.
Senator Palpatine was from Naboo, wasn't he?
Yeah, and we find out that he was actually Darth Sidious.
Yeah. Right. Should we get on to reading the book then?
What about Taunton?
Taunton?
Taunton.
Oh, what planet is that?
Luke rides him in Hoth.
Oh! It's not a planet. It's a thing a creature which Luke rides.
It's on page 200 in my human encyclopedia, but I don't think it's in my what's it called?
Lego encyclopedia.
Yeah, Lego encyclopedia. But it's definitely in my storybook that I always read. Those are all of the books that are just behind me.
Let's read it.
I also have a ginormous Lego book, but I didn't bring that because we're at the seaside right now.
We are indeed.
Hear waves, then that's the seaside. The Empire Strikes Back.
Not too loud.
But you said loud. Like, is this good? The Empire Strikes Back.
Lovely.
The back is a bit big.
Yeah.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. It is a dangerous time of Rebel Alliance. After destroying the Death Star, they are on the run from the evil Imperial forces, Princess Leia has led the rebels to a secret base on Hoth. Told you, Hoth, Hoth, Hoth.
And what is Hoth? What is Hoth?
A snowy ice planet. Luke Skywalker rides his Taunton. It's actually Torn, but you pronounce it Taunton. So where was I? Luke Skywalker rides his Taunton across the frozen wasteland on the lookout for bad guys. You're a bad guy. When I say bad guys, I think they mean bounty hunters, because bounty hunters are kind of a bit bad guy, but Sith are Sith, not exactly bad guy. I think they mean bounty hunters. Do you?
Sounds legit.
An angry snow creature called a Wumpa attacks. Luke fights the beast with his lightsaber. Luke chops off the Wumpa's arm and escapes. As he escapes, Luke has a vision of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan tells him to go to the planet Dagobah and find a great Jedi Master named Yoda. Do you remember in our Revenge of the Sith, we heard that Yoda went on a hiding planet of Dagobah? Well, now Luke in this film is going to meet him again. And plus, you remember I said Yoda isn't ready to fight Darth Vader, but he's ready to fight the Emperor Madness. Not far from the base, Han Solo and Chewbacca spot an Imperial probe droid hunting for rebels. Boom! Han shoots the droid with his blaster. The droid is destroyed, but Han knows it has signaled the Empire with the location of their hideout.
So the droid, before Han destroyed it, it had already told the Empire where they're hiding.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
What?
The Empire knows where they are.
The Imperial forces have found the rebel base. Thump, thump, thump. Their giant AT-AT walkers march across the snow. Zoom, the rebel snow speeders fight the hulking machines. Lasers have no effect, but Luke trips an AT-AT with his speeder's tow cable.
What's an AT-AT?
AT-AT.
AT-AT?
It's an Empire big ship, but it walks. It's the shape of a dog, but with no tail, and it's made of metal, and it doesn't exactly look like a dog.
Is it the size of a dog?
No, it's ginormous. You can fit about... there are 2 passengers on it.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually way bigger. Sometimes there are an 8 or 4.
Oh, wow, okay. Must be pretty scary for them when they turn up.
What do you mean? For who?
Well, for the rebels.
Oh. It isn't so scary because whenever they come, the rebels are always in a ship, but there's only one time that a hologram wasn't in the ship and there were AT-AT walkers. I can't remember if they AT-ST walkers, AT-6M walkers or AT-AT walkers. It might have been none of those.
Are those all different types of kind of tanks? Yeah.
Wait, so, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, now I remember. Except for a hologram of that we're going to get into in number 8, our sequel trilogy.
Well, back to episode 5 right now then.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we get back to episode 5?
Yes, go on.
We're not calling it in France, if you remember 5 from our first episode. So, where was I? Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, and C-3PO race to the Millennium Falcon. But the ship won't start. Would it help if I got out and pushed? Leia asks. Luckily, the Falcon zooms away just as... Darth Vader and his stormtroopers overrun the base. And where's Luke all of this time? Well, Luke and R2-D2 escape too. They set off for the planet Dagobah and crash land in a swamp. Luke finds Yoda and asks the powerful Jedi Master to train him in the ways of the Force. Luke's training is difficult. He runs and jumps and swings on vines, all with Yoda on his back. Suddenly, Luke's X-Wing fighter begins sinking into the swamp. He tries to raise it with the power of the Force, but can't. It's too big. Yoda is disappointed.
Can I ask you a question before we carry on?
Yeah?
What was it like when Luke first met Yoda? Was Yoda what Luke was expecting?
No, Luke did not expect that, did he?
So what was he expecting?
He was expecting a grand Jedi Master.
And in his mind, what did a Grand Jedi Master look like?
No, well, he didn't know. We don't really know.
But he didn't look like Yoda in his mind, did it?
No.
What do you think if someone said...
Luke was saying to Yoda, when will you take me to Yoda? And then the ghost of Obi-Wan appears and Yoda speaks to him. And Yoda says, he has no patience. I cannot teach him. And then Obi-Wan's ghost says he will learn patience. And then Luke says, hang on, you're Yoda. That was a surprising and funny part of the story, wasn't it? Wait, have you watched it?
I may have fallen asleep every time I've tried to watch it. So, thanks for catching me up. Sorry, Joseph. So back to the story. Luke tried to raise the X-Wing fighter using the Force. He couldn't, and Yoda's a bit disappointed in him. You carry on.
Do you know why?
Why?
Yoda says, Luke says, I'll try. Yoda said, and then Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. And then Yoda lifts the X-Wing, and Luke says, I can't believe it. And then Yoda says, that is why you fail.
Because he can't believe it.
Yeah, your mum said that. They explained that to me.
Oh, my mum, your granny explained that to you. What did granny explain?
She said that that I said, what does that mean when I watched episodes? Wait. Oh,
yeah, you watched it.
Yeah. Now I remember. You got to the part where the snow troop is running, and on the next second we were going to see Darth Vader, and I convinced you to let me see Darth Vader. You're like, nope.
And then you watched it with Granny.
Yeah.
So what did Granny explain to you
I was like, what does that mean? And she said, he didn't believe it, and you said, do or do not, there is no try. He didn't believe it, so he did do not. So that's why he failed.
I see.
And then I totally understood it. Everything made sense to me.
Well, I'm glad Granny was there to explain it.
Okay, so, little green Jedi Master closes his eyes, points his claw, and raises Luke's X-Wing using the Force. Size matters not, Yoda says, because Luke says it's too big, but Yoda says, but when Yoda's lifting it up, he says size matters not. So then, meanwhile, the Millennium Falcon is being chased by Imperial Star Destroyers. Han Solo has a plan to escape. He flies into an asteroid field. They'd be crazy to follow us, Han says. The giant Imperial Star Destroyer can't follow the Millennium Falcon, but smaller TIE fighters can. They swoop and swerve and finally crash into the flying rocks. The Falcon hides in an asteroid. Strange creatures attack the ship. The Millennium Falcon escapes before it is eaten by a giant space slug.
Ooh, a space slug? Is that space slug just out in outer space, or is it on a planet or something?
It lives.
Ugh.
It's the biggest person in Star Wars.
The biggest creature in Star Wars.
It's bigger than 30 meters.
Wow.
Wait, how long is a meter again?
Just a bit smaller than you.
No, this.
Yeah.
Without your head.
No, maybe about here. No. With part of your head.
So to my nose.
Around that, yeah. Right, carry on for us, please, Joseph.
Determined to catch the rebels, Darth Vader hires bounty hunters to find them. The bounty hunters are a cruel and dangerous bunch. The most dreaded hunter is the ruthless Boba Fett.
Ah, Boba Fett. We know Boba Fett, don't we, from
Danger!
Attack of the Clones.
Danger!
Who's that?
He went straight down a bicycle crash, and then he crashed.
When does that happen?
He happens right now.
Oh, okay. In episode 5.
So you see Darth Vader, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I forgot that one's name. Danger and IG-88.
And they're all bounty hunters, are they?
Yeah, I forgot 3 of their names.
So who's Darth Vader sending them out to catch?
The rebels, especially Han, Luke, and Leia, and all of those guys.
That reminds me, I've actually got a question about this, because I do remember, I think, from the start of episode 5, doesn't Darth Vader say something like, he knows that it's Luke Skywalker who destroyed his Death Star, doesn't he?
He knows that because Boba Fett found out that.
But does he know that, he must have recognised the surname Skywalker. Does he realise that Luke's his son?
He only realises that in number 6.
Yeah, I find it a bit strange, because he says something about, it must have been that Skywalker, Darth Vader says about him.
No, Boba Fett says that to Darth Vader.
So when does... Okay. I was sure that at the start of episode 5, Darth Vader says something about, being annoyed at that Luke Skywalker or that Skywalker. And I thought, well, that surname must be familiar to him. Maybe not.
Boba Fett found out that there was another Skywalker alive, and Darth Vader was upset. So he sended bounty hunters. That's the reason.
I see. Okay. Right, carry on. Sorry, Joseph, I've interrupted for too long.
Yeah. Han Solo flies the Millennium Falcon to the Cloud City of Bespin. He hopes his old friend Lando Calrissian can help them. He doesn't know that they are being followed by Boba Fett. You see there, that's Boba Fett.
Oh, I see. That's Boba Fett following the Millennium Falcon.
Boba Fett secretly got there before them.
Boba Fett's a good bounty hunter. Bad news for Han.
See? Lando gives Han and his friends a warm welcome. Something isn't right. Darth Vader and Boba Fett are waiting for them. Across the galaxy on Dagobah, Luke feels a disturbance in the Force. He knows Han Solo and Princess Leia are in trouble. Yoda tells Luke that he's not ready to face Darth Vader alone, but Luke knows he must help his friends. Back on Bespin, Han Solo is frozen in carbonate. And by the way, that's for 3 years. Whoosh! Boba Fett claims his prize as Darth Vader sets a trap for Luke Skywalker. Luke arrives on Bespin and faces Darth Vader. Zip! Slash! Their lightsabers sizzle as the battle begins. The Dark Lord wants Luke to join the Empire and the dark side of the Force. Never! Luke cries. Before defeating the young Jedi, Darth Vader reveals a terrible secret. Luke, I am your father. Oh yeah, we did find Boba Fett did know that it was Luke's son. Now I remember. Luke, I am your father, he announces. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy. Now I remember what was mentioned in number 6. That Princess Leia was Luke's sister. Now I remember.
Yes. So
now I remember what was mentioned. I thought, yeah.
So this is a really famous part. Luke, I am your father. But you told me that he doesn't just say that. It's because Luke first says to him, you killed my father. And then Darth Vader says, Luke, no. I am your father.
Yeah, no, Luke, I am your father.
I see.
Obi-Wan said that because he was explaining to Luke that the dark side Anakin kind of killed the good side Anakin. So he obviously did kill your father.
Yeah. Right, so now Darth Vader has revealed this terrible secret to Luke. And what does Luke do?
No! Luke shouts Luke. He leaps into a deep tunnel and falls down, and out of Bespin. And before he falls into the deep tunnel, Darth Vader chops off Luke's hand. Like, do you know that part?
No, I know that Luke does have his hand chopped off, but I didn't realise that Darth Vader did it or that it happened just then.
Oh. It doesn't capture it by his foot, but his hand gets chopped off.
I see.
Luke clings to a weather
vane, which tells you the weather.
Underneath Bespin, he uses the Force to call to Princess Leia for help. Meanwhile, Lando helps Leia, Chewbacca, and the droids make a daring escape to the Millennium Falcon. They greatly save Luke and flee the Cloud City. Luke and his friends rejoin the rebels. They are safe for now, but they know they must save Han Solo from Boba Fett and defeat the evil Darth Vader.
Thanks, Joseph. Great story. So we're going to talk about Han Solo and how he ended up frozen in carbonite.
By Boba Fett.
By Boba Fett. And you said it was for 3 years?
Yep, for 3 years. Impressive.
So carbonite must be a pretty powerful substance.
It's very, very cold. Some people call it stone, that he was frozen in stone, but it's actually ice.
I see.
So there's one thing called trapped. Han Solo has been trapped in an ice carbonate by the ruthless Boba Fett. So it was actually very hard for him because he was wearing a very thin shirt and his top was open. It was very hard for him, and for 3 years he couldn't even see when he got out.
He couldn't see?
No.
Wow. Gosh, that must have been a very powerful substance.
Well, I guess he was in there for 3 years, but he got to see again.
And did they know that it would just freeze him and then he'd be able to kind of go back to normal?
No, that's why they were testing it, because they wanted to test him on Luke, and they wanted Luke not die, but they didn't get to do it on Luke, don't worry.
And it's Boba Fett who did this to Han Solo?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a bit about Boba Fett?
Did you know that there's a really special Lego Boba Fett. It's very rare. Like, if you think it's not so rare, there are actually if you think bronze Boba Fetts aren't so rare, there are actually only 2 in the world.
Oh wow, gosh.
One of them was sent to a lucky competition winner as part of the Lego May the 4th competition in 2010. It's also like May the 4th, but Star Wars Day is May the 4th. And it's in 2010, so 7 years before I was born. We don't know who the other one was sold to, but it must be really rare. But did you know that that Boba Fett found some captured Wookiee hair and he wore it on him? Did anyone know that?
I didn't know that.
Boba Fett is very ruthless. He's very brave, even though he might have been a bit bad.
What makes him so brave?
Like, when he was young, he was a bit scared, but when he got older, he got fear, so he was brave and he defeated everything.
He got over his fear, and so he could defeat things. I see.
Yeah.
And lots of people quite like this character, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I remember you said something to your football coach about Boba Fett, and your football coach got very excited. Said, "Yeah, he's a legend." Do you remember that? You came home and told me.
That was my tennis.
Oh, sorry, your tennis coach. But yeah, I didn't know that people were so into Boba Fett until you told me that.
Oh. So, we just want to say, before we go, where's my list? Found my list!
Okay. What do you want to say before we say goodbye?
Now, what does my list say? It says bye-bye.
Oh! Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
I hope you like our interview. Or, I said like, not like.
See you next week.
And at Return of the Jedi, the end of the original. Time passed, so time flies when you have fun listening to this, don't you?
Indeed.
How many followers do we have?
I'm not sure. Let's ask people. Do follow our podcast, and then we'll tell you next week how many followers we have.
Yeah, we might get more, so we'll just double check straight before we do it. Like, you will look up on your phone, you will tell me, then we'll start the episode, and we'll just say, oh, hello. So we've got, so our intro, we've already done our intro. We just connect it. So the first thing we'll do, you'll look up the followers, and I'll say it straight away. So I'll say last week we asked about followers and blah blah blah. That's how many followers we've got. And please do join us. Ask your friends to join us so we get more followers. Got it?
Got it.
I'm not talking to you.
Bye, everyone.
I'm talking to all of you out there who love Star Wars. Bye bye. See us back at the end of our original trilogy. Then we'll be on my favourite character. Hooray! You're already on my favourite character's grandfather.
Bye.
Bye!